Hey, coming to you from beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. Welcome to season 3 of Pivoting Through Life and Risking Everything. What to do when you get ripped off. Going to be talking about that today, what our options are, what that looks like. Most of us have been taken advantage of in some way or another, whether it was just loaning money to a friend or whether you're in business and someone decided not to pay you or something else. If you join me for the first time, my name is Brad Hogan. I'm a business guy in Central Florida. I'm shooting from Las Vegas, Nevada today, right here in Sin City where so much stuff happens. I'm here in Sin City where the mob started, where the gaming started, all the gambling. It seems like there's a lot of scammers here. I'm not here to say that Las Vegas, Nevada is a terrible city. It's actually a beautiful place, just right smack dab in the middle of the desert. I happen to be here the hottest time of the month. As I look out here, it's just absolutely beautiful, but it was 115 degrees yesterday. I'm here in July and there is somebody everywhere that's got some kind of game going on. You know, I say game, I mean trying to run a game on people. I don't think casinos are necessarily bad, just as long as you understand the casino has the advantage. If you're going to play, what do? You try and minimize the odds that the house has by getting a little education and a little system. How do we do that in business as we're going through life? I don't advocate violence. On the other side of violence is the legal system. You can always go the legal route. More importantly, how do we get to some kind of common ground when we're being taken advantage of or something's not fair in business, that we can negotiate some kind of outcome that's advantageous to us? I think about a renter I had that didn't pay me. You know, my option is I can go through the court system, and what the court system says in that state where that property is, once we get a court date, which would take about 30 days, then we actually go to court. The judge is going to find in my favor. They didn't pay the rent, so they've got to move out. But the law states that I've got to give them 30 more days. And then beyond that, I've got to store their furniture for 90 days. That's what the law says. Well, I don't really want to go through that legal system. Number one, I'm going to be losing rent all those months. So what do? Called up the renter. Hey, you owe me. You're down a month. It's, 2 weeks into the new month. You're down 6 weeks. What are we going to do? And I was trying to get agreement from that renter, which I got, that you'll either pay me on, give me a date. He said, I'll pay you on next Friday. Friday, you're either going to pay me. He said, yes, I'm going to pay you. Either you're going to pay me or you'll be moved out by Saturday. And he said, yeah. He agreed to it. When he agreed to it and didn't pay me on Friday, Saturday, I went over there and cleaned up the place. And of course, I immediately got a phone call. It was Saturday afternoon. Guys yelling, screaming at me, where's my stuff at? Where's my stuff? I can't possibly incriminate myself. I said, well, what do you mean? I don't understand. He said, where is all my stuff? I know you have it. And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. You told me that you were going to pay me on Friday, and if you didn't, you'd be moved out on Saturday. So I sent my guys over to prepare the unit that you were renting to be re-rented because you didn't pay me. Oh, yeah, what? Okay. You get the point. And what ended up happening was I told him I would look into where his stuff was. I called him back and I said, listen, I thought you were moved out. I wasn't there. My guys went over. We have your stuff. It's stored at one of my other properties. I had some garages that were not part of a rental lease on another property. I moved all his items over there. One other important point when he was going to pay me. Told me, okay, I'm going to pay you. I would need to get my stuff. I said, okay, when are you going to pay me? I'll find a time to meet you and get you all your stuff. I knew, experienced enough to know that he's going to be short on what he owes me. So he showed up, sure enough, with a friend and a truck, and we start transferring all the items. And I said, you got my money? He gave me the money. money, and he said, hey, by the way, you know, I'm like $150 short, but I'll get that to you next week. You and I both know he's not going to get that to me next week. Loaded up. I said, no problem. That's no big deal. Loaded up all his stuff. He turns to me and said, hey, where's my stereo at? And I kind of looked around. I said, stereo? What are you talking about? And he goes, man, you got my stereo. And I said, you know what? It's probably just not loaded here. But next week when I see you to get the other $150, I'll have your stereo. It's just negotiation. That's all it is. It's negotiation. It's one way to do it. I think about my buddy that re-roofed a house and he didn't get paid. I don't know all the circumstances, but he told me the guy just flat out wasn't going to pay me. We've all, as roofers, been in a situation where somebody's late or delayed or financing or something didn't happen that was supposed to happen on their end. They can't pay you right away. My buddy says he was not getting paid by this guy. Guy was laughing in his face, wasn't paying him. My buddy went over. This is not legal, by the way, but my buddy went over early evening. The homeowner was not home, and he took 2 of his crews, took 10 guys, and ripped the roof off and left it in the front yard. Of course, the guy pulls up as my buddy's tearing this roof off and says, hey, what are you doing? You can't do that. To which my buddy responded, hey, you didn't pay for it. It's my roof. I'm leaving it in your front yard. Now, there could be some problems there. I mean, my buddy, I don't know what happened. I don't know if the homeowner took him to court and my buddy got in trouble. Certainly you can't do that. I don't recommend it. Everybody that's been screwed out of a deal was saying, yeah, go get him, tear that roof off. The guy didn't pay for it, but not what I advise. It's not the best way to go about it, but it's one way to go about it, and it's a story we like to talk about. I do remember not getting paid on a roof, and I called the homeowner. So what's the deal? This was a little bit different. The homeowner told me his story, and I said, I'm going to come over and see you. What are you doing right now? And he said, come on over. I'm here, I'm home. And it was early evening. It was 6, 7 o'clock in the evening. I went over and sat down with him and drank a Coke, kind of talked about what happened. And he said, man, Brad, I'm so sorry. He said, I had this money coming in and the deal just kind of fell apart. I'm really out of options. I mean, I really can't. Not in a position to do financing, credit card ain't gonna work. And I looked at him and I said, what do you got? He said, I got a bike in the garage. I said, what do you got? He said, well, I got a Harley Davidson, got a Fat Boy out there. And I said, do you have the title? He said, I've got the title. So, man, I grabbed that title and jumped on that bike. And I left my truck parked in front of his house thinking, this guy might change his mind tomorrow. I can't remember the exact numbers. Maybe I was owed 10 grand or something. The bike was probably worth $8,500. It was better than not getting to a resolution. And just myself, I didn't come back to the guy for the other $1,500. It's just take the loss and go on. Go about my business. Actually kept the bike. It's trying to get to some kind of resolution. I had some sales guys starting in the roofing business, and I'm leading a sales team. And the one guy, was telling me what a tough time he was having. He was just getting started, and it's 100% commission. When we got a backlog of 8 weeks to put a roof on, it can be 8 weeks before you get paid. I loaned him $1,000, give him $1,000 cash, said, hey, pay me back when you get it. Time went on, and I set this guy up even in a bigger project where he made about $15,000. And I got with him. I go, hey, you got that money? And he said, oh man, he said, I was ashamed to tell you. He said, my wife had so much debt and stuff. We got other stuff going on, but I'll get you paid back. Okay. Well, time went on. He did another big deal, and his life was turning out a lot better. He was getting on with paying his bills, etc. Purchased a new pickup truck, the whole 9 yards. And I said, hey, what about that? He goes, man, I thought that was a gift. I just looked at him and laughed. There's some people in life that just aren't going to pay you back. Those people, they'll never get ahead. I didn't really miss that $1,000. I wish he would have paid me, but I also didn't hang on to it. I didn't hang on to the regret. I didn't talk about it with other people. It was just between me and that guy. He knows it. I know it. What you'll find is if you're the guy loaning the money because you've made it and you've got it, it's not going to make a difference in your life I'm not suggesting you allow everyone to take advantage of you. But at that point, it became about me, not about him owing me the money. I'm just going to go on with life. That guy, because of his attitude, he'll struggle forever. Even if he has nice things, he just won't quite have enough money to do what he wants. The debtor, the borrower, is enslaved to the lender. It's what the Bible tells us, and I believe it. It's just kind of the way it works out psychologically. You know, there is a thing called the Florida lien law. This is really what I want to talk to you about. The Florida lien law is out there for the roofing industry. But no matter what business, what industry you're in, do your research. Find out what it is. Hey, if it's a personal loan, you should write a note, right? It should be a note where you're loaning some money. Even if you're loaning money to your business in case something happens to you, somebody needs to know that was a loan to your business. We all need to have good business practices. Some roofers will leave the Florida lien law off the contract. It's required to be on the contract, but the contractor's thinking, oh, I'm never going to place a lien on someone's property, so I don't need to put it on there. That Florida lien law goes two ways. It's for both the contractor and the homeowner. So the Florida lien law, this is not in totality, but the language that is in there tells the homeowner, hey, if your contractor doesn't pay the supplier, the wholesaler, where they're getting their materials from, underlayment, shingles, tile, whatever it is, that wholesaler, or if it's direct from a manufacturer, could come back after you, Mr. or Mrs. Homeowner, in order to get paid. It also states in there, for the contractor's sake, that, hey, homeowner, if you don't pay your contractor can place a lien on your home. As a contractor here in the state of Florida, we don't have to go to court. We don't have to, it's not an extensive filing. We'll just go file it. It's a document and the lien is placed on the property. It's there for both sides. And it's an amicable way to apply pressure. It's a proper thing. Without being violent, without losing a whole bunch of money. It's the best way to go about it. When a lien is placed on a property, from the contractor's standpoint, the contractor will get paid. When they go to sell that house or go to refinance or place a mortgage on it or something else, they've got to pay you off as a contractor. Homeowner, when you place that lien against a contractor, you file there, that contractor's going to have to pay off that material to continue on. And of course, on the other side, you know, there's bankruptcy, whether it be a homeowner or whether it be a contractor. If you are doing business with someone else that goes bankrupt, let's say a contractor accepts money from a homeowner, then pays for all the material, or let's say it's a great big job and there's several subs on the job. I'm not talking about a simple re-roof. I'm talking about something really involved. Say we have a $150,000 skylight that's got to be put on with a crane, and we sub that out. Well, if those guys go bankrupt, what do? My suggestion to contractors is, as a business person, I just eat that and I go on. Do I like it? Heck no. Do not want to do that. Certainly don't want to do it more than once. I try and limit that exposure, know who I'm dealing with. But if you're in business long enough, stuff happens. You just learn to deal with it. Again, that became about me. My other option was to go back to my suppliers, or I guess a homeowner. I wouldn't do either one. But I could go back to them and say, look, you know, I can't pay you, can't put your skylight on because I gave my money to these guys and they went out of business. I think their response would be, well, you know, that was your choice to give your money to them. Why did you give your money to them? Why didn't you give it to somebody else? You just kind of work through that. I take the responsibility. I take the responsibility for what I do and me, and stuff happens in business, pay it and go on. What do you do when someone says that you ripped them off? And man, with the internet today, anybody can say anything. What do you do when it's a 1-star review and they're really not even your customer? You know, they're running you down saying you're this and that and you're terrible, and it's like, well, that person's not even my customer. They're not my homeowner. I didn't do anything for them. That's bogus. It's not real. I think the first thing is trying to be amicable. You know, I'm picking up the phone if I've got that person's phone number going, what are you doing? Well, I got a buddy that's a contractor and he said that, come on, man. I mean, that's not real. I didn't deal with you. I've never even talked to you. The next thing I can do is call Google, try and get a hold of them, try and get it removed. No matter what it is pain in the butt. When I lived in Costa Rica, lived there for 8 years, 07, 08, the economy here in the States got tough. Of course, a third world country lags behind the U.S. a little bit, but I was dealing with a lot of people from the U.S. and Europe. They started feeling the downturn in the United States. A lot of my customers were business owners, so they definitely felt it, a majority of them. But what had happened, I had sold lots. In many cases, I had sold the lots, a year ago or 6 months ago. These business owners, lot owners, started calling me up saying, hey, I want my money back. And I said, well, what do you mean? You bought that a year ago. It's yours. This is kind of like if I was a realtor, I sold you a house, you moved in the house down the street, and now you're calling me back saying, hey, I want my money back. Well, it doesn't work that way. When people get desperate and they feel like they're in a corner, they'll do and say whatever they've got to do and say to get that money back. And I had some people turn to the internet. So call up my brother, who's an attorney. And I said, hey, here's what's going on. What do you suggest? And he said, hey, did you call the guy? I said, yeah, I called the guy. He's totally unreasonable. That's not happening. My brother told me, he goes, look, you got one of two options. It's common sense. Either you can go the legal route, and there's guys out there that handle stuff that's on the internet. Who's to say they won't come back and do it again, or somebody else will do it? Or you just power through it. I mean, let it go. People that know you are going to know you're doing a fair deal. People that don't know you, well, man, Google is so powerful. This wasn't even necessarily on Google, but it's so powerful. Reviews mean everything. I lost some business. I took some hits. People don't know what to believe. They don't know me, and they read something online that's not true. What are you going to do about it? I knew who did it. I knew where it came from, and if half the stuff they said was true, I'd be in jail. Absolutely 100% was not the truth. They did it in a vindictive state. But the other thing I would run into when I was in Costa Rica, I would buy these farms and subdivide them into lots. A couple of farms I bought were out near the ocean, definite ocean view. I showed up there and I learned what to do as I was buying these, but I would show up with my security guy. That was not a strong arm tactic at all. My security guy, being a Latin guy, he would talk to the local people, kind of take a lay of the land of who was there on the property. What we were getting to was my security guy would tell him, listen, Mr. Brad is coming back next week on Wednesday. We'll be here around 12 o'clock noon. Everybody that is living here on the land, you need to be here. I would go back, and this time we would take all the girls from the office. I really wanted the girls to talk to the women. What would happen initially when I went out, there may have been half a dozen people there. Say there were 6 people. Well, when I would come back, I'm expecting, 6 families maybe. There would be 12. There would be 12 families. And it's like, where'd all these people come from? They're all looking for a payday is what they're looking for, and they don't know what's going to happen. I would have the girls from the office get with the women. Very quickly, what the girls from the office would tell the women is, Brad's a nice guy. He is going to build you a brand new house. You get your own plot of land, and he'll give you the deed to the house. You actually own it. He's not going to build a house for everybody here. It's only the people that actually live here. If we can't figure out who really lives here, then he ain't going to build a house for anybody. He'll just go to the court. So very quickly, those women, man, they want a new house. They would start talking. They would say, oh, that lady over here, she doesn't belong here. She's so-and-so's cousin. They just showed up because you were coming back, and we get down to the truth. Ultimately, I would go in and give them rice and beans, and then give them jobs where they could actually work on the project, and then we would build them a house. They couldn't be in the middle of the project. I would actually pour the slab, build them a block house, beautiful, put a roof on it, stucco the outside. We would even put tile on the inside floors, everything. Electrical, water, everything. Build them a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house there in Costa Rica, and they would be just on the outskirts of the project. We would put a 6-foot chain link fence there at the road around their properties so that construction equipment, etc., was not getting in their yard. And those people, actually, they would watch over our project. We even went a step further. For the people in the community, we would build a school. I'm not talking about a big school building, like you see here in the U.S. These are typically one-room schoolhouses. We would build something that was indoors. We have a monsoon season there where they wouldn't get wet. We would even put in a kitchen. I think it's difficult for kids to get a good education when their stomach is not full, when they come to school hungry. So we would feed those kids a couple meals a day and just getting buy-in from the community. So it went from a situation where we've got squatters, they're trying to take the land I bought, to being non-confrontational situation. It's an adversarial situation. Actually, those people end up liking us and working for us, and we just avoid the court system altogether. Now, it does happen, and it can happen, that even when you make someone happy, whatever the situation is, you fast forward 6 months, occasionally you'll have that one person that come back and go, hey, you didn't give me near enough, you built me a little house, you've got this whole development, they're looking at what I have, not what they have. You have to pick your battles, figure out how to deal with those people. Do we go through the legal system? Many times it's then the shoes on the other foot where they've got to take us to the legal system. Typically that doesn't play out. I think of the celebrities today, doesn't matter, pick one, the scrutiny they get from everyone. Talk about something else. Talk about Justin Bieber. Most people know who he is. He's a younger guy. He started as a kid. Man, I just can't imagine the people that are clawing at him that want something. They would love for that guy to push him or punch him so they can file a $10 million lawsuit. Everybody wants, it seems like, so many people want something for nothing. As your business grows and you become more and more successful, I'm not saying it's everywhere, but you will run into those people that want something for nothing. They're trying to rip you off. You just got to be ready for it and deal with it when it comes. It's a little more difficult when it's public, when it's on the internet rather than one-on-one. What do? Do you go on or do you take legal action? And I think it just depends on the situation. Is it one person? Is it hurting your brand? Is it a setback, or is it killing you? Are they coming from all sides and you've got to stop it? Perhaps that's when you take legal action. It's easy for other people to talk. That's going to happen your whole life. Just remember this. If you're doing something and you're doing something great, there's going to be people talking about you. Some of them are envious, but you know what? You're going to have a whole lot of friends. You have people that love you, that appreciate you, that know what you're about. Man, you just keep going through it. This is what will change your life and make you a better person. Hey, love you guys. I'll talk to you in the next one.